Hi guys, D-Shaped Lifestyle here, back with another video. Today's video is really focused on XRP and what XRP's transitioned from to, and why certain people like Rosie Rios, who is one of those she's really heavily involved in money. I think she launched the last dollar or something of that nature, or created the last dollar or whatever she did, but it was under her, guys. And she's going to explain why she joined Ripple. You're going to hear various clips from people that joined Ripple. Also, I'll shout out to Cyprus Manico for providing some of those clips from, I took some of the clips from his video just because I couldn't find them myself. But the reason why I did that is for you guys to help you guys to understand that utility is the one way forward with this market. A lot of people are not doing that. They're involved in the meme coins. They're involved in the get rich quick schemes. They are distracted by media and the lies that are being spouted out there. And yes, we have got conflict. Yes, we have got all those horrible things going on. But at the same time, underneath it all, a new financial system is being born. Ripple could be at the center of it all. I do not know that. I cannot say that Ripple will be the center of it all, because there's various other blockchains, but you know, Ripple could play or is playing an important part in that. But yes, it is actually. The reason why I say it like that is because I don't want to give financial advice. I'm not here to give financial advice. But the videos that you're going to hear, or the clips you're going to listen to, highlight some of what is going to happen with the technologies that are being born today, or have been born and have been around for like 10 years and have been tested, have been used, and are being used in places like Dubai and stuff like that. You know, you've got countries like Palau using Ripple, and basically they're kind of like testing, blah blah blah, building out stuff. And then once that happens, you will see an influx. But at the same time, we still need the USA to stop dragging its feet, to stop helping the incumbents still cling on to the last vestiges of the power that they have. Because this is what it's all about. They want to cream off as much as they can for themselves, and then they'll let the floodgates open. And that's my view on it all. Anyway, hope you like this kind of stuff. These clips as well, I put to it. I'm not going to do them very often, but I will try to do other things as well. But you know, I just want to say to you guys, wake up. Or those who are asleep, wake up. Or those who are not or doing their own research. This is another thing. People need to do their own research. If you're not doing your own research, you're not going to understand this market. You're just going to be spoon-fed. And that's something that I see a lot of people, coming into the market. You get these scammers. They're not even scammers. They, in fact, don't even realise they're scammers. They're getting into scam programs, and they're trying to get me to get involved in it, and I just won't have it. Do you know what I mean? I tell them, my basic answer to them is this: why would I take something from a regulated company like Coinbase or whatever it is? It doesn't matter, as long as it does KYC and AML and all those compliant things. Why would I take my crypto from there and stick it into a company that doesn't have any of those things behind it, but just has a WhatsApp chat or a data collection portal? Come on now, wake up. Anyway, hope you like this video. Like and subscribe. Take care, guys. D-Shaped Lifestyle.
I joined the board of Ripple because XRP serves a purpose. It's a function that facilitates cross-border payments. It's not some store of value, kind of arbitrary value that is not pegged to anything. This is actually what legitimate financial institutions use specifically for cross-border payments. So instead of days and dollars, it's seconds and cents. And that is the future, in my opinion.
Joined today by the 43rd Treasurer of the United States, Rosie Rios, to discuss just that. Rosie, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Rosie, when you think about the intergenerational wealth transfer that's going to go on, what do you think about?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And if you're only thinking about it now,
You're behind the 8 ball. The train has left the station. I keep saying that, and it's absolutely true, especially when it comes to this topic. So what people need to realize about intergenerational wealth is it's already happening, right? So we're talking about kind of, so the boomers, which is my generation, you know, we have the most discretionary income. But this next generation, basically, you know, the millennials, although it's pretty much anyone born in the mid-90s and later, you know, are going to inherit this opportunity to really think about investments in a totally different way. So when you think about those generations, so technically, you know, the millennials or anyone born between 1980 and 1996. But again, look, my son's 26, my daughter's 21. I call them the Robin Hood investor, right? But in reality, you know, these are kids who grew up with the internet, right? So anyone who's grown up with the internet, they see the world as very flat. It's no longer what they're taught at home, what they're taught in the classroom. It's what they see. It's what they've learned, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the internet. They're very tech savvy, they're very confident, but they don't have the experience that perhaps a lot of wealth managers, financial analysts, managers, etc. need to really understand how to think about their investments. So for me, you know, it was very important that I get into their heads. My daughter's 21, my son is 26. When I left the Obama administration in 2016, after serving both terms, I studied these kids, I call them kids, for 2 years at Harvard. And I really wanted to understand kind of the social, political, economic way that they think and how they behave. And for them, you know, it's kind of this one and done world, right? It's set it and forget it. Right. Technology means everything to them. They're very, very confident, they're very progressive, and they're very savvy. But again, they lack a lot of the world experience that my generation still has. So even here now in this economic downturn, this unprecedented economic downturn, this is where, in my opinion, the wealth management industry has a huge opportunity. It's no longer about taking them out to golf and buying them dinner. It's really kind of thinking about how to use technology and information in a totally different way. So if you're not already on their app, on their phone, and that's how they access information, if you're not already there, you know, you're behind. You're behind. So for people to really think about how to use technology, how to kind of think about kind of out-of-the-box approaches to investments, and really it's not just about assessing value, it's creating value. And again, really being able to understand how these kind of exotic investments work, whether it is crypto, whether it is thinking about getting into, whether it's the metaverse, etc., these pre-IPO opportunities, and the time is now. The absolute time is now.
It's really 1997. We're nowhere near knowing who the Amazon and the Google and Facebooks are yet, but they probably exist today. And so for the people who do their homework, you know, there is a chance to find them.
I think this was talked about in some of the earlier panels. Somewhere around 80% of the population in the U.S. believes that the financial system needs to be updated. You know, by large numbers, look at the idea of crypto being a solution to that problem.
Now, Ripple as a company has recognized from day one the imperative transformative update that is much needed in our payment landscape.
Because there's many things coming down in the future that requires a lot more from the payment system than we currently can supply. Micropayments, machine-to-machine payments. How can we do 1 million payments a second in an efficient and costless fashion?
Internet of Things payments.
Internet of Things. So there's a very high bar that we need to meet in all payment systems going forward. They need to be much more efficient than they currently are.
Understanding the sluggish pace of international payments from point A to point B, Ripple sought to address this issue head on from day one.
Ripple, I think, is the only company. That's the reason I joined Ripple 5 years ago after practicing law on the East Coast with big law firm, and then in banks. I think it's the only company that has successfully married the promise of blockchain and crypto and solving for a real-world problem. And the real-world problem to solve for is how do you move value on behalf of institutions, banks, and payment providers real-time. Right now, traditional financial plumbing allows you to move IOUs real-time, but then the banks need to settle that on the back end. And the way they settle that is a bank hires a bank to pay another bank that ultimately pays the bank that you owe the money to. And that can take 3 to 5 days. It can be very costly. So although you may see something on your app that shows that you have the money, again, the real value has not transferred. What Ripple has done, both with our proprietary software and with the XRP ledger, which is a blockchain, using this digital asset XRP, which is crypto asset like Bitcoin or like Ethereum. We can move the value real time. And the founding mission of the initial brilliant engineers who put all of this together, their vision was the internet of value. Just like we can move just like I can send an email now across the world. And I don't know what server the recipient was on, and the recipient doesn't know what server I'm on, and I probably don't know what server I'm on. I can hit send, and that email seamlessly, instantaneously moves to the receiver. And essentially, that's what we do with value. That's what we do with money.
One of the things that has made Ripple, I think, both successful and arguably controversial is I don't think about it so much as how do we turn the barge around as much as how do we help the barge be more successful. I don't think anybody here will be surprised that many in the crypto industry have evangelized things like overthrowing governments and down with banks. And from the earliest days at Ripple, I and we have taken the point of view that governments aren't going away. That sounds like a crazy statement to even say, hey, governments aren't going away. But look, we're at a blockchain summit. There are some in the crypto world who absolutely think, how do we get rid of governments? How do we get rid of banks? Ripple said, and maybe pejoratively describing the banks and governments as barges, using your thing. So I don't mean it in a mean way, but the best way to have the biggest impact is to engage the system, to get the barge to be far more efficient in terms of speed, in terms of cost, in terms of accuracy. And then you can have a bigger impact in enabling the internet of value and frankly impacting the whole economy.
I'm looking for the optimal solution, not just necessarily something that beats the current environment. In some cases, that's a very low bar, a very low standard. I want the optimal. I want the best technology, the most reliable, the safest, the most secure, the most efficient, in an efficient and costless fashion.
Internet of Things payments.
Internet of Things.
The best way to have the biggest impact is to engage the system, to get the barge to be far more efficient in terms of speed, in terms of cost, in terms of accuracy. And then you can have a bigger impact in enabling the internet of value and frankly impacting the whole economy.
And this is why I make the distinction between clearing and settlement rails, is that banks suck at technology. I know this. I've done technology for banks in my career. It's not that there aren't great people, but the challenges of legacy technology stacks, huge, often amalgamated businesses, and the fact that they're full of bankers and not software engineers.
Do you think the bank will do that? The private sector will do it in terms of the bank? Who's going to audit those contracts, right? Like when there's an issue with Ethereum, they run to Vitalik. Like when there's an issue with CBDC, should I mail you or?
Coming back to what I said earlier, the technology for doing a CBDC is not yet determined. So it may or may not be based on distributed ledgers. So it may or may not have what you were thinking of in certain terms of smart contracts. But one of the goals for designing this well would be to build a platform upon which the private sector can build higher end services, can make the money usable in other circumstances. So yes, we would want it to be programmable in some sense, not by us, but by the private sector. We supply the money, the private sector makes it usable in various circumstances. The private sector makes it usable in various circumstances.
And wholesale inform as the preferred option at this stage is the only risk-free settlement asset. So we see a place for that, but we also see some limitations around it due to policy reasons. So it'll be different digital currencies used for different use cases, I think, that we'll see in the future.
And I think as we start to see central banks understanding, one, if they should even issue a CBDC, right? So we hope they're also outcome driven. And if they decide to, what are the design choices they're making so that those CBDCs are interoperable with stablecoins, with cryptocurrencies, with the multitude of wallets that Dave will talk about in the future.
A CBDC and cash or your bank deposit, it would all be the Canadian dollar. Anything else would be a complete failure. So a CBDC is not a new currency. It could be listed on some exchanges versus Bitcoin and other things, but that's because we want a CBDC to be interoperable with all types of alternative monies, whether that's the US dollar or a cryptocurrency. A really bad outcome in the payments market would be fragmentation. We need payment systems to interoperate, whether that's different private sector payment systems or with a central bank digital currency. Money needs to flow back and forth as easy as possible. We want frictionless payment systems as an ideal. So yes, we would want a CBDC to interoperate both with traditional payment systems as seamless as possible, as well as potentially more blockchain-based systems, more tokenized-based systems.
Ripple.
Day one. It's not something we think about later on. And this is all about how do we connect with the domestic system, the current system in the countries, but other systems, CBDCs, stablecoins, native cryptos, they will all be part of the future. And they all need to work together. And somehow we need to make that happen. So we think about that a lot.
Ripple was set up 10 years ago to be the company to find real-world use cases for the XRP ledger and XRP, the digital asset. Separate company from the ledger and the asset, of course. And we really identified very early on that cross-border payments and moving value across borders was where we wanted to play and go after. We've been doing that for 10 years. It takes time, and it's taken a lot of effort to build a network now over 70 countries. But the underlying goal hasn't changed in the beginning, and our employees love this, our stakeholders love it, and it's all about moving value in a faster, cheaper, more trustworthy, and now greener way across borders.
It is interesting you say that because you look at, JP Morgan, where you had Diamond saying that he thinks Bitcoin is
a fraud. And then he launched a coin.
Yeah. And it sort of reminds me a little bit of PayPal's journey too, the sort of contentious relationship with banks and the credit card rails. So are you seeing this shift happen? And again, where is this 5 years from now? Are you able to exist in a world where the JPM coin exists and other banks have their own forms of cryptocurrencies?
Look, the JPM coin, I think, actually, in many ways, has been great for the industry because, someone who not that long ago was saying Bitcoin's a fraud is now leaning in and is a macro good thing for the industry and bringing credibility. I'll give it a thumbs up. The JPM coin, though, if you really think about it, and there's a lot of banks represented in this room, is Wells Fargo going to use the JPM coin? Probably not. Is B of A going to use a JPM coin? Probably not. And so are we all going to have a Wells Fargo coin and a B of A coin? And now what about the interoperability between these coins? The other thing that makes no sense to me, in order to get a JPM coin, you deposit $1 in a JPM account. So it's one-to-one backed in dollars, and you can only use it intra JPM's ledger. Why didn't I just use $1? I actually don't understand what problem that was solving.
I think you're illustrating why there's been a lot of skepticism in crypto and the blockchain right here. And it's not that people don't believe in it and that it has a very useful case. It's just that it hasn't picked up in a significant way when, as Tim said, thought it might have changed the world by now. And Dan, are you surprised by that?
I rise today because we are at a crossroads in banking, fintech, and finance. Blockchain is a revolutionary technology that is going to change the way Americans do business. The question today, the one that we have in front of us, is whether we would like America to lead that change or let somebody else take the reins. We are planning on marking up 2 bills next week in the Financial Services Committee. One on digital assets market structure and the other on stablecoins. I'm going to focus my remarks today on stablecoins. I am not new to this subject. In the Nebraska legislature, I wrote and passed a bill that allows for banks in Nebraska to issue stablecoins, state-chartered banks. This is an issue that I have worked on and care about for years. Since 2017, stablecoins have grown to $130 billion in market cap. That's the size of a multinational institution like Deutsche Bank. We are not dealing with a theoretical conversation about stablecoins here. Stablecoins have already arrived. Whether you like them or not is irrelevant. They are here, and the question of the day is how to regulate them, not whether to regulate them at all.